Let's do it.
And so we should be live. Uh that's not the right window. Um so we're live. Hello, welcome to another episode of Loose Canon. Today we tried to take it a little shook my whole fucking desk with that one. Um let's smack the mic. Today we are uh talking about a lot of the Easter eggs that there are in Destiny, and I want to apologize. I wanted to get a bunch of like little video clips of it, but I'm not sure if it's my computer, if it's Destiny, if it's OBS or what. I was unable to actually get quality video. Everything was super choppy. My game was running smooth, perfectly fine, but in OBS it was all messed up, and it just looks, it would be a headache to look at it. It would be really bad. So I tried to compromise and just get a bunch of images which are less fun, to talk about some of my favorite Easter eggs. Rhino has quite a few supplied as well that I didn't know about. And we have a list of others that don't have images, and you're just gonna have to take our word for them. We don't have images or videos. Uh, and this is actually probably the first time that I've experienced the downside to sunsetting, where so for example, one such Easter egg is the Hope for the Future. So Hope for the Future was written by what was it,
Paul
Paul
McCartney.
McCartney?
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be part of Destiny 1, right? But it never actually got used. That's the story behind it. I
Right.
fucking hate
And they made a
movies.
music video for it and everything. And Paul McCartney, if you don't know, was one of the members of the Beatles.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you don't know that, where you been?
But so Hope for the Future has become like one of Destiny's longest running memes, where it never really happened, and so because of that they always like to have fun with it. And in the Red War, the opening mission, which you can no longer do, you were actually able to go, when you're in the hangar, you were able to go to where the Hunter's Lounge used to be in the Destiny 1 tower. And if you stood there, you can hear a garbled version of Hope for the Future playing from inside the room, but it's closed off. And that was one of my favorite things when I found that, because I went over there and I was like, oh man, the Hunter's Lounge used to be here, which is almost actually kind of an Easter egg of its own. The fact that there was a Hunter's Lounge in
Hunter's
Destiny
Lounge.
1.
Yeah.
People got
And it
mad.
was, well, what was funny is the ship that you walked into down there by the bar
Uh,
was Cade's ship that was backed up permanently docked to the ship bay.
was it?
Yeah, yeah. People didn't know that at first. It took me like a good 2 years in D1 to even know
So,
that that was
whoa.
actually Cade's ship, because there was a small reference to Cade's ship in the tower hangar, and that's his ship. Because when you walked on there, there was the map with his knives, which we
Yeah.
see in D2 now also. And it took a long time for people to put that together, but yeah, we just thought it was just some random ship
Yeah.
that was docked there.
See, I didn't even realize it was a ship. I just thought it was like a what the hell are they called? Like a storage container, one of those like
Yeah, I
big.
did too at first. I thought the thing was just another room down
Yeah,
there for a long time.
yeah. And so back in D1, because it's not called the Hunter's Lounge or anything. I call it the Hunter's Lounge because early on in D1, when I went in there, one day I was in there with an old friend of ours who hasn't been on the show in forever, Guardian, um, and I was just looking around. I was like, wait a minute. This is a hunter's lounge, because it's got knives in the walls,
Yeah,
it's got sniper rifles leaning up on
yeah,
things, it's got hunter helmets, it's got the hunter banners like with the
yeah.
aspect of blood, and it had a bar. And I was like, this is the fucking hunter's lounge. And it was one of the locations that Xur used to go in. So like back in D1, Xur used to cycle to different points in the tower, and that was one of the places Xur could be in. And
Right.
along the left wall there was this like big circular machine, And like early D1, it didn't do anything, and I was like, this is a fucking jukebox. It might not play music, but I know it's a goddamn jukebox. And then in like Rise of Iron, it started playing music. You could go up to it and you could play music on it, and I was like, I called it, man. I knew.
And we only had like one real good dance emote that you could do back then. We didn't have the D-pad where you could select multiple emotes. We didn't have any of that. You did,
but it was static. It was point, just sit, dance, but dance could be remapped to your special emote. And what was the last one?
Salute, wasn't it?
Yeah, point, sit, wave, and then your wave was auto selected based on what your race was. Classic, I think humans would like have like a big overhand wave. Exos would salute, which is why you say salute, because I miss that now. Now Titans have the salute, Hunters have the big overhand wave, and Awoken had something else. Instead of being by race, they made it by class.
Yeah.
Which
that's right. Yeah,
so there's a little Easter egg for you. It's a little history more than Easter egg.
So if you play all the classes now in D2, you can get the emotes that are tied to the other ones because they pop up in your rare. What are they? Green?
I think they'd be uncommon. They'd be greens.
Yeah, which is funny. And so the hope for the future has been like a big meme for all these years.
Yeah,
and it pulls up in several places. One, which I guess we'll go ahead and call it out now, is on the Tangled Shore. There is a club in a lost sector, which that's a multi-layered Easter egg. So if you go into that club, which was a really difficult lost sector when the Tangled Shore first debuted, I mean, you couldn't do it at all unless you just grinded heavily, because the game was a lot harder to grind up levels back then. What was it? It was light level back then, and then they switched it to power level or something.
Well, they switched it to power level in Destiny 2. It was light level back in Destiny 1.
Yeah. And I think that if your power level, what was the grind, was like 50 power level?
Usually on an expansion like Forsaken, it was like a huge jump, and then every season was 50. And then people were like, this is insane. Like, you can't do this to us.
It was really difficult. Yeah. So if you were lucky enough to like go in there and not die trying to hit the which would essentially be the jukebox, was the DJ booth of the club that was in the Tangled Shore. And so the DJ booth, if you kept cycling through the music, you would hear Hope for the Future in like a different way.
Yeah. And that's another case of the Tangled Shores getting sunset. Apparently sunsetting is just Bungie's attempt to get Hope for the Future out of the game again.
Yeah. And so that club, the reason why it's multi-layered is because that club is a reference to Halo Reach, which Halo Reach is, proto Destiny. Halo Reach was the first Bungie experiment into going to the new mechanic style of Destiny, which Destiny became Destiny. But anyway, Halo Reach had an Easter egg in it, which was called Club Era. And you had to go through these convoluted steps to trigger a door in a floating city called New Alexandria. And so you had to fly a pelican around, and you could trigger this switch over here on this one skyscraper, and then you had to fly to the opposite side of the map to another skyscraper, trigger another switch. Then you had to fly back to that first door, trigger the switch again. Then you had to fly all the way to the northbound side of the map just to land on a door that was all of a sudden open. And when you ran inside, it was a club, and the club had the enemy races in there dancing. There was grunts, elites, brutes, all jamming out to music, which was like a techno version of the Halo theme song. There was like 2 or 3 songs in there.
I never knew. I will always miss references to like Halo. Like whenever they make like a Halo reference, it is going to be over my head.
Well, the whole name for the Easter egg was funny too, because it was Club Era, which is like, an error. like
Hmm.
in your game. And so that's something that Bungie has been known for doing way back into Halo 1, where there was a secret room you could somehow get into, and there was a nightclub in there. And in the nightclub room, there was like a poster of some of the founding members of Bungie and some other little references to like the people that work at Bungie. It was just a neat little room. Um,
Hmm.
so that's been something that they've been recycling for over years and years and years. But what was neat about the club era in Halo Reach is you had the DJ booth, and
Hmm.
you had the jamming out bad guy behind the DJ booth, just like in the Tangled Shore, which was really cool.
So I just realized that I know that it's an iPhone reference. I thought the next one we can talk about would be the hard light.
Yeah, so
So
this one's weird because a lot of people don't know another aspect of this one. But yeah, so the lore tab for the hard light is
yeah.
very much a scripted, like, you know, this is the new phone type
Yeah.
of
So
debut, right?
I have it here. It says, and it's spoken as like Amalon pitching their new device, right? So
Uh-huh.
today we're introducing three revolutionary products. The first is a quick config interface for outgoing damage. The second is a ricochet projectile that bounces off any surface. The third is an infinite range zero drop off projection weapon platform. So, three new products in the Amalon portfolio. But unlike any other product launches, we won't be staggering the releases. We'll be releasing them all at once in a single device in extremely limited quantities. It's called Hardlight, but there's one more thing. So apparently this is how they announced the iPhone. So I
Yep.
guess the three revolutionary products would be like cell phone, internet browser, and camera.
Yeah.
But I can't actually find like a transcript of the announcement or a video of the announcement, so I can't put them side by side. But so basically, you have your everyone's favorite weapon here, Hardlight, which has gone through the ups and downs of being a viable weapon. Where because it had so much camera shake that it was like completely unusable, and then when they like really tried to reel in the damage fall off, it's like, oh, now hard light not having damage fall off, it's viable for like long ranges, but it's still just so scattered that you can't hit your precision shots, so it's like still not
Yeah.
really.
Highlight's a funny one because it kind of shows the evolution of what's been so difficult about Destiny tuning their weapons.
Yeah.
It's almost like a funny cut to what goes on behind the scenes because Hardlight for years has been one of those weapons that has just been hard to tune. They finally got it narrowed down
Hmm.
to a workable weapon, but it plagued D1 on its debut. It just
Hmm.
destroyed or I should say, it did absolutely nothing, and then it destroyed everybody.
I mean, that was the issue with like auto rifles, right? It was the
Yeah,
era of auto rifles when Destiny 1 first came out. They were just all oppressively powerful.
yeah. So another neat little thing about Hardlight, which is funny because they doubled down when they made the ornament for it,
Hmm.
which was called "Everything's Chrome." I think is what the name of the ornament is. I
Okay.
couldn't grab it real quick, but
Let me see if I
the
can grab it.
chrome, yeah, the chrome ornament. If you look at it, you can see it kind of just applies a all chrome shader to the gun, which is not like super standoutage, but the name of the ornament goes in line with like Android's operating system, which has plagued the internet, and everybody has to use Chrome now for
Yeah.
Google search engines and stuff. So it's funny because there's like this duality of presenting it as like an iPhone dig, but also an Android dig.
Hmm.
So
This
that
is
was one of the little things.
this is one of those weapons that sounds really exotic, and it's definitely improved in Destiny 2 because as everyone I'm sure knows, hard light fires solar, arc, or void, and you're able to switch them by, is it double tapping or holding the reload button?
Now
I
I
think it's
think it's
holding.
holding. Yeah. Before you couldn't do that. Like you
Yeah.
had to go into the weapon, select it, and then come back out.
Yep.
But now you can do it in your aim down
Yeah,
or whatever.
you don't have it, because that's what I was gonna say. In Destiny 1, you actually had to go into the menu of the gun, and imagine that like on the consoles, that menu
Yeah.
load time where it's just like really chugging and it's just not getting done. And now it's like a interesting, viable match game weapon, but I mean, it's just not to use that as an exotic. It's still a choice.
It
And
is. Yeah.
something I'm noticing now is, why does it actually have like 3 barrels?
Yeah.
Do
That's pretty funny.
Do you
Yeah.
think that's like on purpose, that it's meant to fire one from each barrel?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I mean, they're what were they? Symbolistic polymer bullets that originally shot out of the thing. They
Yeah,
were like these.
that was another thing with Amalon, that their bullets weren't actually bullets, that they were just like a liquid gel that like
Yeah.
with enough inertia became like solid.
Yeah. So okay, so if you don't know this, another Halo reference in Hardlight is the fact that the name is Hardlight, which was a construct of Halo for many years on Forerunner technology, which is like it's like the biggest of the big in the game as far as like who controlled everything, right?
Hmm.
In Halo. So the Forerunners were the aliens that were in charge of like the whole universe. Anyway, the Forerunners developed a technology which was discovered by humans and other alien races, which was called hard light. And so hard light is a way to make light into a hard surface. You can make shields out of it. You can make bridges. You can make platforms. You can do construction with it. Hard light just is like a major thing that was developed in Halo, um,
Hmm.
which kind of is like the glue for all the Lego bricks in that
Yeah,
world.
I think Hardlight would be pretty fun if it shot all 3 energy types at once.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that would be awesome if
But
you
then
could
you have to
do.
also make a hard dark that does the same thing but with the darks.
That's funny because wouldn't that be funny if they came out with the hard dark or some other thing? The other funny thing about it's called Future is Chrome. The Future is Chrome ornament. It's not everything is Chrome. Anyway,
I
the
got it.
ornament for hard light, yeah. The Future is Chrome ornament. That was the name of the debut of Chrome. Was
I
everything was
mean,
Chrome?
you have to
Yeah.
think that Amalon would see like dark energy and be like, okay, yeah, we're doing that one too. Like,
Oh yeah, no doubt. Omalon is always on the cutting edge of any kind of you know taboo tech. I
yeah,
guess is what you would say,
it's
like
hard
borderline
light dark
crazy.
mode.
That's funny. Dark mode iPhone.
Okay, so what do we have next? Got hard light done. So you said that there's something for Skyburner's Oath opening to the lore tab.
Yeah. So Seth Dickinson a while ago, I want to say like 3 years ago, um, put out on Twitter that the opening to the Skyburner's Earth lore
Hmm.
tab was meant to be read in the tune to "Fortunate Son" by Creedence Clearwater Revival,
Okay.
which is kind of funny because like I would have never have known that.
Do you have that up? Are you going to give us a demonstration?
I mean DMCA maybe.
Convenient.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get our podcast ripped off, but yeah. So, like, the lyrics in "Fortunate Son" are obviously different, but the cadence in which you would sing that opening of that song is very much the lore tab for Skyburner's Oath. Um, so it's like if you can hum the tune in your head, maybe.
Skyburner's Oath was well, so No, actually, no, never mind. Because in House of Wolves, we got Lord of Wolves, Dreg's Promise, and Queen Breaker's Bow, which is now just it's Queen Breakers now, right? They took rid of the bow in Destiny 2.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because Skyburner's Oath is one of those few weapons that is an enemy weapon. Like this is what the Cabal shoot us with, and we use it too, which is something that I wish Bungie would do a little more of because it's not like the enemies have a wide variety of weapons anyway. Like I get why we can't use like the Vex guns or whatever because it's like that's their hands. Like that
Oh, yeah. I guess you're right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could probably still rip them off and,
it doesn't
you know,
seem smart to use it though. Given everything that we
so
know about
it's
the
gonna
Vex,
end up like Asher.
yeah, and Kabir and the rest. But
Yeah.
like the Cabal have, and now we're working with Keitel. Now we have like an open source to the manufacturer. Like we can get
Yeah.
that new Centurion weapon, the Bronto something. It fires like horizontal
Oh,
shotgun, like
yeah.
three burst shotgun like that. That'd be awesome.
We, you know what I thought was funny about the Skyburner's Oath when Seth pointed that out. I never really thought much about it until he pointed that out. But like Skyburner's Oath is, obviously it's a Cabal gun, right? You
Mm-hmm.
look at it and you see, oh well, that's just a Cabal gun, and we're using it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way it fires, it's really neat because it has a dual mode
Well, now it
firing.
does.
Yeah, before it didn't, but it has this really cool mode. But I didn't really look at it anything about the gun past that, visually. But when you read the lore tab to it, you kind of get a little bit more perspective into the infighting between the Cabal. Just like you mentioned, with Keitel, like we
Mm-hmm.
have a representation of what Cabal have different, ideologies amongst their own race, and Keitel is kind of going against what you know.
Yeah, because I mean, I I'm not sure if it's ever been like explicitly stated when Keitel took over, or when I guess Dominus Gaul took over, and kicked out Callus. But it seemed like the Cabal in our system, like in Destiny One, they were under Callus's rule still. Like they were still under Callus's rule, and it was like shortly into Destiny 1 era is when that shift happened, when Callus was kicked out and things like that. And so Skyburners came, I think Skyburners were introduced in the Taken King as the faction that
Yeah,
attacked the Dreadnought. They were the ones
yeah,
that actually started looking into how the Hive have a way of killing ghosts, or
yeah,
at the very least, killing Guardians effectively. Because I don't think, like, when a Guardian dies, in most cases, it's because they died in such a way that their ghost was also killed in the action that killed the Guardian, or their ghost was killed separately. But there are instances with things like the original Thorn that it's like the ghost doesn't matter. The ghost can survive without you, and the Guardian is now severed from the light. And that's something that it seemed like the Hive had the ability to do, where a death from the Hive, your ghost can run off. They kill you in a way that kills you without touching your ghost, which is what made them such a point of interest to the Cabal.
yeah. And so that's another thing that kind of made me think about, like, so in the lore entry for Skyburner's Oath, if you read it, like if you truly like digest the lore in it, you can see how the Skyburners in this particular scenario were like, we it's very funny because it's a parody of the song, but if you read it in just like their vein of understanding, they learned how to eat. Like it says at the end, it says, now this is the end, brothers, our final fight. Gaul's here to finish it. Mars taught us how to fight guardians. The Hive taught us how to eat their light.
Yep.
Remember that we made it possible. The Red Legion ends it, but we held the line and we didn't die. That's victory. It says so on the gun. And so back up to the first part of the gun lore entry, it says they were some grunts are born to fight the war. Yes, they're loyal and true, And when the call comes, hot drop in 5, well, they're always first in the queue. But I'm not one of them. I'm no hero. I'm in no hurry to die. I shot my own squad on Phobos when death came to wear us like an armor. And then it goes on, I rode the Primus's ship that rammed the Hive Dreadnought, second wave out of the hatch. We won that fight, victory or death. We're not dead, so we won. So it's like this going against the grain of what a Cabal theology would have originally been under Callus's rule, but because they were under Dominus's rule, they had a different perspective or a different way of fighting. Because Cabal fight to the death. That's winning. But when they fought under Dominus, they had a different way of thinking because light was everything to them. And they learned that from eating the Guardian's light on the Hive. Or on the Dreadnought, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is the prelude to D2 and what happened in D2 when they stole our light. So like this is the prelude to that.
Yeah.
D2, the opening of D2.
This was that first piece that put us. The Cabal on the Dreadnought was that seed, as Bungie likes to say. They like to plant seeds, and sometimes they grow. And it's like that was one of the seeds that was able to grow into Destiny 2. And when you think about the structure of how the game is developed, you have you had the team led by Luke Smith and etc. I don't know their names. Sorry about that, but they made the Taken King. They plotted that story and they planted that seed, and then another team came in for Rise of Iron, and that's why it might seem a little disconnected, but that's how you produce a game on an annual release structure. You have multiple teams working on titles to actually develop a full release, not just a half release.
Yeah.
And
given Luke Smith's involvement in the Taken King, you can see how, I don't want to really call it like obsessive, but like you can see how deep down in the roots of that whole expansion, Luke wanted everything to just be like just this multi-layered environment with all these hidden things and all these different pockets of stuff. I mean, even the raid was insanely complicated when it first came out. I mean, it just had Luke's hands all over it. He wanted to really make it a difficult experience. I mean, the calcified fragments, all of that stuff.
I mean, that was just like an evolution of the dead ghosts.
Yeah. But I mean, it was still like they were everywhere, and it was really hard to get some of them. And anyway, this is mad rush for all that.
So just to kind of keep with the Skyburners. So like we said, they debuted in Taken King, and the great thing about Destiny 1's lore system was that they had Grimoire cards, and you were able to get entries like this that might not be like huge, and they might not be like a full scope of story, but it gives you an interesting look into the enemy races. And in this case, the Skyburners got their own Grimoire card. And so it says, the second fleet will wait no longer. Commencement will begin on their arrival. Cryptarch translation of Skyburner chatter. And then it continues, rumors of a yet-to-be-deployed Cabal fleet have long haunted the Vanguard Hall. Hidden efforts unveiled the Phobos fleet base house what is merely the first wave of a full-scale celestial demolition fleet, codenamed Skyburners. Ghost scans of the ships and reports of a large Scion presence have Warlocks anxious to learn their weaponry. Dead Orbit assures the city that the Skyburner fleet poses no immediate threat to the city. So, they have this interesting name structure, the Skyburners, and that they're a demolition fleet, and they're waiting on the second fleet, and they were the ones that kind of like got the Cabal in line with how to destroy the light and everything.
Yeah.
And it sounds like before the Dreadnought even came, the Skyburners were already in position waiting for the Red Legion to come in with the Almighty to burn the sky. Like they were that first wave, and the second fleet would have been the Red Legion.
Yeah, well, remember we thwarted their chance to blow up the Dreadnought because the Mario brothers.
Yeah, also
that
that
were
Valis Tularoon and Maual.
yeah. You said it.
Maual. They have difficult to pronounce names.
They
I never
do
know like what like pronunciation it's supposed to hold, you know.
something.
Okay.
And so we fight them. Do we stop them from blowing up the dreadnought? But
Yeah.
so wrap that all in a nice little bow. Skyburner's Oath, Lord entry, Fortunate Son song. It shows you the rebel, the rebelness of the Skyburners versus how Callus's subservient grunts are to him, and Dominus's legion, and how they're just going against the grain of what a cabal is known to be. And so the Fortunate Son song is very much the same idea. It's a Vietnam song. It was identified with wartime in the late 60s, and it kind of, the lyrics to that song even kind of go against, like, it's like a rebel song, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
meant to be like against authority and all that stuff. I'm not your, I'm no hero, that type of scenario. I'm not your fortunate son. I'm not your convenient scapegoat, all that kind of stuff. Just goes in line with that.
So, the next one we have is one that Rhino pointed out. I'm actually really excited about this one because I didn't know about this until just now. So the Pressage mission on screen now is something that you might say looks familiar, and you might say that's the location on the Pressage, but it isn't. This is from Halo 2. You said
Yep. Yeah.
this is
Well, it's in
from.
Halo 2, and it's also in Halo 5, and it's also in another mission on Halo 3. I think it was either 3 or Reach. I get them confused sometimes because the whole ODST years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So
they like to recycle spots,
yeah, I mean,
basically.
that's every video game. That's smart. It
Yeah.
saves time. It saves effort. Um, but so you notice the main thing is this bridge kind of dividing the room with the big window for the hangar. And now we'll look at the Presage. This is the best shot I could get. So you have like another big window for the hangar. You have this like little drop down section. You have the bridge. The main difference is that the bridge here doesn't seem to actually have stairs going down like Presage does on the right side where you can like walk up and get on the bridge. But I mean that's the subtle evolution that makes the map work better
Yeah.
for Presage as compared to Halo.
Which I thought was kind of funny because here we go again, more Halo. But here's what's kind of funny is on the on the two different versions in Halo, the early one had, it was just the basic, there's the hangar. And when you open the door, the entrance to this whole room is the exact same way you enter in Halo. So you open the door, and the door is located in the exact same spot in Halo and on the Presage mission. Saj, I don't know how you pronounce it. Mission. When you walk in, it's like this grand opening event, right? So the door opens, and you're like, "Whoa, is this a ship hangar?" Same thing
Mm-hmm.
happens in Halo. One of the differences in the first Halo instance this happened, and the second Halo instance is there is a little drop down. If you're smart and you're like fighting everybody, you can go to this little spot in the middle of the map where there's stairs, and they
Mm-hmm.
let you drop down, and you can kind of like survive the firefight. So like if you're playing on legendary mode, which is insanely hard, and you need a place to go to kind of like not die, there's this
Mm-hmm.
little stairway that allows you to go under, and you can take refuge from all the fire that you're under. And so the stairs in the middle right there, and the way the two platforms come up, are the exact same layout of that map, which is funny. So it's
Yeah.
almost like another multi-layered, hey, remember this? Because Halo veterans, when they first walk in there, they're like, wow, this feels familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool to see little Easter eggs like this, like clear inspiration carrying over. Like it must have been like one of their favorite design spaces, so they wanted to like have a little clever way to sneak a similar design into Destiny 2.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was. I think the I think the environmental artists, are really tapping into like, they just want to put in their they want to put their mark on it, but they also want to
Mhm.
call back a little bit of that nostalgia for everyone and
And you have
just
to
be kind of
go on, sorry.
yeah. Oh, just be kind of, mindful of like, hey, there's lots of players out there that might want to experience this too for the first
Mhm.
time, but as well as like guys that have been veterans for years.
And I was gonna say you have to wonder. It's not like everyone who worked on Halo is there working on Destiny right now. It
Exactly.
could have been someone from Halo made this map, and then someone from Destiny. Maybe they weren't working at Bungie back when they were making Halo. Maybe they were a fan of Halo, a fan of Bungie, and now they're working at Destiny. Or maybe it was someone who worked there from long ago. They were like, "This map was so cool. I want to like reference it. I want to put the Destiny spin on it and
Yep.
like throw back to this memory, and
Yeah.
they get to do that. That's one of the great things about Destiny, this ability to like throw back
Yes.
like scenes or stories from like other medias and just like put like a Destiny spin on it. That's one of my favorite
So,
things
so
about
one
it.
of the coolest things that I always point to, and people forget this, when everybody wants to have like, well, this is better than that attitude towards everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, anytime a new game comes out, it's the Destiny killer, or
Yeah.
anytime a new game comes out, it's the Halo killer, or Xbox versus PlayStation. That it's all
Mm-hmm.
this whole like console war, game war thing that people, you know, it's died down a lot over the years, obviously, but it's very much ingrained in this attitude that, oh, whatever I'm playing has to be the best, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're playing sucks. But what I keep hammering on is, if you play Destiny, or if you play Halo, or if you play both like me, you have to think about this, because 343 is half of all the guys that were originally at Bungie, and Bungie is half of the guys that are now here at Bungie, but they
Mm-hmm.
were all a team together. Half of them went on to create more Bungie games. The others stayed and created 343. And
Mm-hmm.
since then, some of the Bungie guys have gone back to the 343 team, and some of
Yeah.
the 343 team has gone to Bungie. So they have this intermingled friendship for years. I mean, they were in the same studio for years.
Yeah.
And so there are friendships there between Bungie and 343, which, if you just think of 343 as being another extension of Bungie, because that's how I think of it, because the guys there have been together for years, they still talk to one another, they still play each other's games,
Yeah.
and they still have fun with all the stuff that's in there. And that's one of the reasons why Bungie will always be able to say, hey, remember when we did this? Even though it's not a part of who we are today,
Mm-hmm.
we can still call back to it.
And it's crazy to think about. Like, you'll have fans just be all like, "Oh, fuck 343," or "Oh, fuck Bungie," blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But then the studios are just like, we don't feel that way at all.
At
Like
all.
the
They
video
don't.
game
They want each other
studios.
to succeed. I
Yeah.
love watching the Bungie team community and the Bungie team
Mm-hmm.
members. Whenever there's a new Halo, murmur out there, they're like, "Oh, we can't wait to play, Halo." And then the same goes on with the guys at 343. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait until that new
Yeah.
Bungie expansion comes out for Destiny, and we'll play it." And you see them talking back and forth, like, "Dude, your game is awesome," and it's just great. It's just great
Yeah.
to see that camaraderie. And I wish more people in the community felt that way, because one of the things that happened when Bungie left, uh, or when Bungie, kept going on and 343 was established, is a lot of people decided then and there to divide themselves. And they were like, well, I can't like Halo 4 because Bungie's not there anymore. Well, it was hilarious because Bungie's still there. They were working on Halo 4 together as a team in its very, very, very infant years.
Mm-hmm.
It was just only after that separation that people just decided, I can't be affiliated with this and that and that. Like, no. I mean, if you go back to Halo Reach was very much the platform for Destiny as a whole. When Halo Reach came out, it was dramatically different from all of the other Halos.
Yeah.
And the way it had loadouts, the way it had mechanics, all of that was totally different, and it was very much Bungie going, "Hey, this is going to be how Destiny's going to work," and it became that way. So anyway,
So next up, I think we should talk about Telesto. So
yeah,
before in Curse of Osiris, I think is when Telesto came out. Yeah, in Destiny 2, of course. So Telesto came back in Destiny 2 and Curse of Osiris, and it had the following lore entries. So the first whole section of it is awoken jargon. So public key, number, regal from, and then Paladin Kamala Rior, Paladin Commander TF 5.3 to Regent Petrovenge, subject prisoner of elders, containment risk. Message is contingency reserves overdrawn. We underestimated nobility troth reparations. Aldrin suggests that we open reintegration talks. Have you discuss endowment support? If Reef endorses support, Paladin Orin will engineer reinforcement. Message ends. And so I think it was after Forsaken released, or just before Forsaken released, that
it
one of the
was.
writers
It was a long time.
yeah.
It was
It
a
wasn't
long time.
Shadowkeep era, but it was like after Forsaken. It might have been like midway, or it might have been just before Forsaken released. But one of the writers said how there was a secret message in this lore tab, and
Yeah.
no one had caught it yet. So everyone was like, "What the fuck? Like, what do you mean?" And so the message is really simple. Actually, you take the first letter of every word, and it spells another message. But there is a key to triggering the knowledge. You know to look for this message when someone is mentioned. When Paladin Orin is mentioned, sorry, you know that they're speaking in code. So the message actually reads CROW Crow UNTR Crow untrustworthy. I'm not going to actually spell it. It says Crow untrustworthy uh
Desires power.
desires power. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's so they're calling Crow. They're calling Aldrin Crow as a code name for Prince Aldrin. This is before he died at the end of Forsaken. This is in, the Curse of Osiris era message. And that was actually the first time in Destiny that Aldrin was ever referred to as Crow. He
Bro.
held the title
Correct.
Master of Crows, and before Destiny released, his model was called Crow. So Aldrin has, and I think we've talked about this before on the show, but Aldrin's model and Brandon O'Neill, the voice of Aldrin, has kind of had like a roller coaster of development, where he was this like renegade guardian who lived out in the old Russia in the Cosmodrome, and he was gonna like kind of guide you on the path to understanding the universe and everything, and kind of be your exo stranger. It seemed like, and so that's when he was Crow. And we have images where it was like meet up with Crow on Venus and the Ishtar Sink to learn about the Vex or something like that, because they had
Yeah.
a phone app that would help you guide your missions, which whatever, it was a crazy time back then.
Well, I just
And
want to say real quick, Destiny originally was meant to be on Rails, and they changed that at
yeah,
the last minute. I say the last minute, but whatever time is in game development world,
and
it was like,
it still pretty much is on Rails. It just gives you a little more wiggle room.
yeah. So like one of the things about Halo games before Destiny is you're very much on Rails when you go into these open spaces. You can explore, and then there's like loading zones and like save points as you progress. So that was a format used by Bungie for many, many, many years, all the way to Marathon. And when they came out with Destiny, there was the there was the premise that you were going to be using your phone to talk to your fellow guardians, and you were going to team up with your bros on the internet, and you were going to match up and go do a public event together, or you were going to go do this strike together or whatever. So they decided at the last minute, whatever that means, to just make it open world, and you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and go wherever you want, wherever you want, whenever you want. And if your buddies are already there, then you can go meet them and coordinate with them and all that stuff. And so it dramatically changed the game, right? But Crow, like you pointed out, was originally supposed to be a part of that storyline on rails.
Crow's character, we've learned through like interviews and stuff, was actually also supposed to have a personality more like Cade, because at this point in development, when the model was Crow, Cade did not exist. There was no Cade. And so this kind of like sarcastic, jokey, haha guy was a part of Crow's personality. And then, so for whatever the reason, if the Exo Stranger was also introduced, if that was how Crow got changed, they got changed. They now didn't even have a name. They were called the Queen's Brother. That's how they were referred to for like the first 6 months, I think, of like actual Destiny release. Like Destiny was released. Here's this character. They are the Queen's Brother. And then in December we got The Dark Below, and then in May we got House of Wolves. And in House of Wolves, Queen's Brother was actually named Aldrin, Prince of the Reef.
So I mean, if you kind of think about all that in its entirety, when D1 first came out and they dramatically shifted from a story on rails to an open world shooter / MMO FPS, they really kind of had this complicated way of telling the story now. So like a lot of the people in D1 when it first launched were upset because they felt like the classic line, "There's no story in Destiny." That was the meme for years. And it took a long time before they really fleshed out a lot of stuff.
I never really even agreed with that. Like there was a story. It's just, it wasn't like,
I had to find it. Yeah.
No, I mean, and I don't even agree with that. Like, oh, there's a story, just to go to the Grimoire to read it. It's like, I disagree with that too. The story is you are a recently risen guardian who is being followed by this mysterious figure called the Exo Stranger, and then they enlist you to take out this great evil that's going to do something bad if you, the only one who could, don't take it out. And it's like, if more focus was put on like actually explaining the story and like giving the gravity that the story was suggesting, it was suggesting that there was like a gravity to what you were doing, but it was never really showing it. It's like, oh, you just did this amazing thing that no one else could ever do. And it's just like, okay, I guess.
It almost, I get what you're saying. And so like, I guess maybe the focus wasn't there wasn't no story, that was more like people didn't know, they had too many questions that were not answered.
I think there were a lot of questions that were just like, okay, but now what? Like, who are you? And it's like, I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain why. Like, that's kind of like a cop out, and like, absolutely, that is a cop out to explaining the universe that needed to be explained. And Bungie has done a better job.
So one of the things that I love about D1 are the Alpha Lupi visions and all of the ARG that went up to leading to D1's debut, and where we would go to the different planets and learn about what was going to be the game way before the game. So I think in all, people had this really high expectation for a multifaceted, fleshed out universe that kind of stuff takes years to develop.
Yeah.
No game ever does that at the beginning. And I guess because people had been so used to a universe that had been fleshed out for so many years, which i.e. Halo was, they expected this to just instantly be that. And no, it takes time. Stories have to be written, stories have to be told,
Yeah.
things have to be in. I mean, one of the great reasons why there are so many lore enthusiasts, I personally feel like, is because of that lack of explanation and making people question what it was.
But also, like, you know, people were expecting this like huge universe with all this like mystery and everything. And that's what Bungie gave you. That was in the Grimoire
Yeah.
cards, you know, like
Yeah.
they really doubled down on preparing this whole universe for you to like exist in. And it's like, to have a universe, you have to have a history. And if you have
Yeah.
a history, you're not living the history. The history has happened, you know,
Yeah.
and it feels like people said what they wanted and Bungie gave them what they wanted, and then they were like, but I didn't want this. And it's like,
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
this, but like I wanted the
Yeah.
history that we've also lived through. And it's like, okay, but
Yeah.
that's years of
That's
development.
not. Yeah, exactly. That takes years. I mean, when Halo first came out, it okay, so here's another little history lesson 101 for people in Destiny. When Halo first came out and was debuted, it was debuted by my goodness, why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden? The guy who, helped start the iPhone. Uh, Gosh darn it. Am I really gonna flake on this guy's name?
I guess so.
The Who created the iPhone?
Steve Apple.
Yeah, Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs, as a part of the a Macintosh or whatever, his Halo was a part of that launch, and Halo was meant to be a Mac game. And so
Uh-huh.
Halo, when they were going to debut Halo, they didn't have like a working game yet. So they had to hurry up and scramble. Bungie had to hurry up and scramble and make this thing work for the live event that Steve Jobs announced Halo on. And so
Mhm.
they put this like real quick 3D rendering together where Master Chief's walking by, and it just miraculously everything worked and it was great. But they, up to the minutes before they were showing it, they were all freaking out at Bungie.
Yeah.
And so you can go back and watch videos of this, but like they go in depth and detail over what was going on behind the curtain, if you will. But anyway, uh, Bungie's game Halo was supposed to be a part of that, and then it switched to Microsoft because Microsoft bought them. But when Bungie uh, was debuting this game, it was supposed to be, just like a full fleshed game, right? It wasn't anything. It had nothing. They had a protagonist, which was Master Chief. They had a Banshee that could fly, and they had a Warthog
Mhm.
and a couple guns, which that was the whole thing. And then once that got picked up and everybody lit on fire and the crowd went wild and wanting it, they were like, now we got funding. Now we can make the game that we want to make. Same thing kind of happened with Destiny, but Destiny was given a ton of money. Bungie was given a ton of money to make Destiny up front. And so it takes years for the story to happen. But the reason why Halo has such a rich universe is because of the players, because of their constant need for information as to why things exist in Halo. Who were these people? Who did these characters? All of that stuff was written years after the game had already been out. And the same thing happened with Destiny. The community was on fire. And so now there's all these questions. Who is this guy? What is a cabal? What is a hive really? What is a guardian? What is a ghost? What is the
Mhm.
traveler? All of these things. So we had millions of questions. And what I love to say, and one of the very first things I said when Destiny first came out was, the reason there is a story in such a rich universe in Destiny is because we, the players, created it.
Mhm.
We, the community, got together and created that. And it's very much true. When we go crazy over something and we just have to believe certain things are what they are, the writers are like, yeah, let's just make that in the game, you know? And so like pulled pork. Everybody was sure that pulled pork was Aldrin's ghost. And so there it went. It's all of a sudden Aldrin's ghost. That resurrected Aldrin to Crow. Um, things like that exist because, I don't know, maybe you and I are the Ahamkaras. But
Yeah.
I mean, things like that exist in the game world because of our insatiability. That's even a word.
So I just realized I didn't actually have some of the examples, so I was just searching those while you found them. Or while you were talking, I mean to
Quick
say.
fingers.
But so for our next one, we actually brought this up on I think it was last week's or the week before. We brought it up down here in the hangar, and I wanted to get a video of this, but as I explained earlier on, something's up. Any video I
Yeah.
take of Destiny is garbage. So I just got some screenshots. You can see here it says site safety days since last accident, and apparently the tower. Good job on the tower. They went a whole day without someone dying, but that's when I jumped off the tower, and so I jumped off the tower. I killed myself, and I went back. And as you can see, it is a live counter. If you ever see this at a high number, like take a screenshot, because I refuse to believe it ever gets above 5. I would be amazed
Oh
if
my
it
God, I don't think
somehow
I've
could
ever
get above
seen
5.
3 or 4.
Have you ever seen a 2? I've never seen a 2 either, but I feel like 2
I
can
don't know.
happen.
I feel like I've seen it too, but I probably am lying to myself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's gotta. We need a tower watch. We'll just sit in the tower and we'll watch this
Yeah.
counter. See how
Oh,
high it can
wouldn't that?
go.
After that, we mentioned that the first time I thought, wouldn't it be great if you could somehow get the tower to participate in a 7-day experiment where nobody jumps off of the tower or
So
dies
I'm
to see what happens?
this is Destiny days, not real world days. So actually, that wouldn't be difficult to get it to a high number if you cheese the spawns.
Yeah.
Like you have two people who live near each other. You have a good chance of running into them into the tower. So you get your team of like 10 people, one person in the tower, person who lives next to them brings one person with them into the fire team, and then they join them, and then everyone like leaves the fire team, but they stay in the tower. They don't get kicked to orbit, so they flood the tower with their private groups of individuals, which makes it so I think you can only have 4 or 5 fire teams in the tower at the same time. Get them all in there, and then they just hang out. No one jumps off. You can skyrocket that counter.
Dude, that's a great idea. And just imagine if there was like an Easter egg tied to that.
Yeah.
It would take a ridiculous amount of coordination, but I think the community could probably figure it out.
Yeah. But so next, that was a quick one. Next, we have some marathon references. I know we've recently talked about Mida, so we can
probably a year ago we talked about this.
No, like weeks ago we talked about Mida.
Well, we talk about it all the time.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. Mida is a great. If you don't know by now, Mida is a marathon reference, and it has to do with the Martian Interplanetary Defense Allegiance, I think is what it stands for.
Is it allegiance or association?
Something. And so the Mida was one of those references that popped up in the Mida multi-tool, which back in D1 we didn't know, we didn't have like Grimoire that really went into that.
It was just Mida multi-tool, and that's it. That's all you got.
Yeah. Yeah, and then later we got, more lore entry to it, but the lore entries to Mida are funny because it's almost like messing with you, the reader, because it says like these dual pun words that are like leet speak, but also mean these other things. And if you're trying to figure out what it means, it almost is like toying with you, because like there's stuff in there like troll smasher, which is, leet speak for trolls on the internet. And then also means like troll on an airplane.
It says avionics troll and troll smasher.
Yeah, see what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of funnies buried in there.
Yeah. Stellar sextant.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. And so like the little compass on there points to something. We don't know where the hell it really points. And so a lot of people thought that gun pointed to something, that compass pointed to something like the 7th chest on the Baltic.
Yeah.
There was all kinds
all those
It's the
teases.
ultimate troll gun for us as the player. It's a great gun. I mean, people still dominate the Crucible with it today. I just got destroyed in Iron Banner by it. Anyway, but Mida was a part of Marathon,
Yeah.
and Mida had to do with the story, which you could only get the story of. Here's another Bungie thing. Bungie didn't give you the story in the game. You played the game, you had a story of the game, but then there was another layer to the story, and there were these terminals,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to find these secret hidden terminals. And when you unlock the terminals, they would tell you another story. And when you put all the stories together, you could get this whole other story that had to do with the universe you were in. And so it's a Bungieism. I mean, that's just what they do now. And so Mida was revealed in one of those terminals on a level appropriately called the Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's funny about that is it just goes back to how Bungie is just calling back to that nostalgic Mida marathon lore. But also later in D2, they made it like a parallel universe meme story funny thing.
Yeah. So
In
the
lore.
lore entry actually is Shaq speaking, and he says, "My Red Jacks unlocked your Mida weapons log. Simple enough. Once we used the rifle's own electronic warfare tools, the rifle was designed by a primitive AI and manufactured for use by a revolutionary government named Mida. Guerrilla war suits use these versatile weapons, but Rahul insists his records never hinted at a rebel group named Mida. According to the rifle's cached messages, Mida's brief reign killed a full 10% of the Martian people. I gave Lakshmi this weapon for her take. She insinuates that it came from another timeline, perhaps through Golden Age experiments. That means it's outside your jurisdiction to ban, because I guess Zavala was trying to ban it
Yeah.
in the Crucible or something like that."
Yeah. Which is funny because Future War Cult had the machine which allowed them to see,
Yeah.
parallel timelines and blah blah blah. And but what's funny about the Future War Cult is they are very much like a parallel for the Mida faction, which was in the Marathon. So FWC was all about war. Same thing with the Mida
Mm-hmm.
faction. They were a lot like what Future War Cult is. And what's funny about Future War Cult is how they even ended up in the tower to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And they were seen as like, um, you know,
Radical.
whatever. Yeah, radical. There you go.
But so Mida in Destiny canon, I guess, is a weapon from a different timeline where the Traveler, maybe it's out there somewhere. I guess it would have to be out there somewhere, but it never came to our system. So technically speaking, in the Marathon universe, then like this is a two-way street, right? In the
Yeah,
Marathon universe, the Traveler is out there, but in the Marathon universe, they had their own uh, slew of problems, which
yeah.
is actually our next Easter egg. And this Easter egg is coming in, I believe, 40 something days.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's like 40 days away. We're going to be getting these armor sets. And so these armor sets are all directly influenced from Marathon enemies and players. I think one of them's a
yeah.
player.
Marathon Man is the main protagonist you
Is that
play
what it's
as.
called,
Like
Marathon Man? Well,
that's what
here,
we call them. Yeah,
let's go through it. I got him here. So I think the first one up is the Warlock. Nope, that's the Titan. So you see this Titan here, and the Titan is designed after, ironically, the Hunter.
I know.
The Hunters. That is these
I thought that
guys with
was
these like
funny too.
spiky deals on their hands. So these are their sprites. Very clearly is the Titan. You can see that spike. They got the green glow, like whatever this crap is. The green
Yeah,
here. You can see the green on it. Uh, Very cool. I like the Titan. It's probably the most, or maybe not the most. They all very much fit Destiny, which is kind of telling to Bungie's like design philosophy, I guess, where they have this like feeling, and they just make new
yeah.
games with that feeling.
So in Marathon, if you look at the Marathon logo, it's red. It's a red symbol with a green dot in the center, and so the green dot theme is coming up too because they use it on the armor for the ornaments that'll be in the anniversary pack. So, like if you look at the Warlock's chest, it's got the green Marathon circle, and then on the was that the Titan? Oh wait, that's the Titan.
The Titan's on the right.
Yeah. Titan's on the right, and so it's on his shoulder. And then what's funny is the Hunter is the Marathon Man, which really the Marathon Man is more like a Titan because he's like a Master Chief, which is it's all funny because it's like, oh, you thought we were gonna use the Titan as the Marathon Man, but no, we used the Hunter, which is funny because the Hunter is the Titan.
Yeah.
But
before we go over the Hunter, who should be the Titan, and after the Titan, who should be the Hunter, or who is the Hunter, we actually have the Warlock here. So you can see the Warlock sprite, and they have this like robe that's opened up in for whatever reason. They are designed after, I don't know how to pronounce it because it looks like it's spelled S''PHT, aka the compiler.
Yeah.
Which this almost feels like a very early concept of what a wizard is in Destiny, which is funny because Warlock's wizards.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. It's all coming together. And they don't have fucking legs.
Yeah, they don't. They float.
Yeah.
Well, and back up to Marathon. Marathon's not a 4K, game. It's like pretty pixelated.
Well, I mean, you could give them legs if they wanted them to have legs. They can add legs. It's not like
and the other thing to that is the characters that were in the game. They had the concept art for them, which was really cool. But also like they changed a little bit of their appearance, and then the story of those characters from Marathon was further fleshed out, i.e., terminals. But because of the community too. They didn't have a whole lot until the community got involved with that game. That game went on for years and had many followers. Still does to this day. Now you can download it on the internet and play the whole thing if you want.
And that brings us to, as you called him, Marathon Man, but I found him called what was it called? Security Officer. So here you can see the Warlock again. And then you got the security officer up here on the left half of the security officer has these like blue designs to it, and a fun better picture which is almost identical to the Hunter. So the Hunter here in the center, this guy who is like much more exactly the Hunter from Destiny.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's another multi-layered. Yeah, right there, that picture. So here's another multi-layered Bungie-ism. So the Marathon Man in this picture, if you look in his hand, well, I don't know if this is that picture. Well, there's another iconic picture where he's holding one, yeah, he's holding a proto form of the enemies, which is like a squid-like looking creature.
Oh, Bungie and their squids, huh?
Yeah, so Bungie and their squids and the whole story of Pahanin. And so why some crazy people out there, including me, sometimes on the right day, maybe Tuesdays only, believe that it's an extension of Marathon universe in Destiny universe, and Pahanin was a part of that.
Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, everything's giving me Squid Game.
Yeah, squids have been ruined now because of that movie.
Also, Marathon Man doesn't give me Marathon.
Yeah, so Marathon Man is a thing that the community references to him because he was an unnamed protagonist originally.
Okay, I think I got it. Can you confirm? I put it on screen.
Yeah, delay. Yes, that's it.
That's it.
So if you look at that, it's almost. Here we go. Bungie-ism, multi-layered reference. So in Halo, we have the Flood. In Marathon Man, we had this like plaguing creature that would try to kill you at any step you would try to take in the game. And, they killed you however they killed you. And then you had the main enemy races that would try to kill you too. So, yeah, He's holding the flood. Yeah, basically, he's holding the flood, a flood form almost,
Hmm.
which has been like this uh, enemy that can take over your body and mind and make you a part of the flood mind, if you will, in
Hmm.
Halo. But in Marathon Man, it wasn't really fleshed out as much. But so what's funny about the Marathon Man in this picture is we didn't really have like a squid thing directly tied to it, but squids are what they call the enemy races, or what the community calls the enemy races, when they don't really have, like, when they're killing the enemies, they're killing a bunch of squids. Like, I'm gonna go play Marathon and kill a bunch of squids. That's been like an underground saying for players of the game. Same thing happened in Halo. When you would kill a lot of enemies in Halo, you would say, I'm gonna go kill some squids, in Halo, because Marathon guys brought that Bungie-ism into that game. And so it's funny that they wrote it into Destiny lore with the squid references all over Pahanen's character, as if here's this character you never met, you'll probably never meet, and he loves squids.
Hmm. So all the way back in Destiny 1. So this actually makes me wonder. So we know that Marathon, basing on Mida, Marathon's universe exists in a parallel timeline. Pahanen went crazy after going into the Vault of Glass, which is, the Atheon is times conflux, all the timelines flow through Atheon, etc., things like that. So there is the potential for Pahanen to have seen the Marathon universe. He's caught a glimpse of this Marathon universe, of this Halo universe, where these squid enemy things take over the body, and they take over, right? So
Yeah,
there's a potential that they won. They were the successors. And back in
yeah,
Destiny 1, we have the octopus cloak, where he says, if human extinction seems imminent, try to relax. You're just giving cephalopods a shot.
yeah, yeah. And so, not but maybe 3 years ago, Frank O'Connor, one of the original Bungie guys, who's now with 343, he's a huge keystone in Halo. He's a writer. He's a big deal over there. He Something happened a long time ago where somebody basically trolled him on the internet and said, you probably couldn't even draw a Master Chief, right? And so he has drawn Mr. Chief, which is the now iconic symbol for Frank O'Connor's avatar, which is this like crude drawing of Master Chief's head with this big, like teethy smile, cartoon teethy smile. It's like real crude drawing. And so it's been dubbed Mr. Chief.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Chief, going into that whole thing, Mr. Chief has morphed over the years. Well, as a part of um, I forget what the event was for, but it was like a event to raise money for a really good cause. And he did a painting of this marathon picture of, instead of Marathon Man, uh, Mr. Chief basically holding a squid in the exact same pose, the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not a flood, it was an octopus.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway,
So let me just double check, because we are
yeah, we're getting there.
yeah, we're getting there. So I have a few more images queued up, and
Go.
do you have any on your list that you really wanted to talk about, like any big ones? Because I think I actually only have like basically two more.
Well, I think the anniversary thing, we should definitely pack it up with that one.
Okay, that's how I would end it as well.
Yeah,
The final anniversary pack with all the Bungie
yeah,
symbols and everything. Okay, so then this one's one of my favorites, and so we kind of talked about Alpha Lupi a little bit. And so this is the Hunter Crest of Alpha Lupi. This is the Titan Crest of Alpha Lupi. So the Battle of Twilight Gap is this huge battle where Hunters, Titans, and Warlocks fought. Warlocks wore the crest of something. What the hell? They had a helmet with the feathers.
yeah.
I didn't get the
Uh,
helmet because it doesn't. The helmet doesn't illustrate as perfectly as the Hunter and Titan crest of Alpha
Correct.
Lupi's did,
Yeah,
but they all had the same ability. They gave you orbs of light when they were orbs of light back in Destiny 1 on the ground, and on like multi kills or something like that.
Mhm.
But so both of these chess pieces have these like icons with like the wolf, and then this one has this like double eagle thing holding the
Yeah.
swords, and then the wolf with the wings.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of guardians died during Twilight Gap fighting the fallen all from invading the city, led by Sulcus, the Kell of the Devils, and their armor of the dead guardians, their armor was taken and by Crux Lomar and crafted into the Gallarhorn, which is coming back in the anniversary. And
Yeah.
so you can see right on the head here, we got the wolf with the wings, the from the hunter, and then right over here you have the banner. And actually, I'm noticing for the first time ever, it's actually got the mark of six fronts, just like it does on the Titan chest right there under
Yeah.
the twin eagle.
Yeah.
And so that's right there. It's also right there. And they made the Gallarhorn. It's coming back. It's a awesome gun. Everyone's gonna love it, I'm sure. I wonder if it's actually gonna be good though.
I hope so. Well, it'll probably be nerfed, but
Well, I mean, it's just like our rocket launcher is really in such a super viable position right now where it's like, yes, this is what I'm going to use, you know?
well, I mean, if it
Just because
had
of
Wolfpack
their
rounds that kind of seek people, even if it just did enough damage like a Splinter Grenade did, then it'd still be fun.
yeah. I'm
I
just
mean, we do have
thinking
the mini missiles rocket launcher now.
the ammo economy on rocket launchers right now I don't think is very good because you
Yeah.
have to reload every time, and
Yeah.
then you only get so many rockets, and then it's like you're done. That's it. That's all you got. So you have these scavengers which are expensive, and
Yeah.
it's they're not in the best place where they used to be king, because it's like you have this tight window and it's like you just need to do a lot of damage really quick, so you go boom 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 with your rocket launcher and then you're done, and then you can
Yeah.
get the ammo off the ground, or you can pop a synth and you get all your ammo back, and there's no more synths anymore either.
I mean, it could have a place then. I don't think that it would be like totally broken,
Yeah,
even if they left it at like somewhat of the same damage it had
hopefully it just
before.
does like, yeah, hopefully it just does like really big damage, because it's
Yeah.
such concentrated fire. That's where cluster bombs fail. Like what was it, Argos, the planetary mine from the second Leviathan raid. Cluster bombs did work on him because he was such a huge model that your clusters are hitting every fucking part of him, so it's just all doing damage. Wolfpack rounds to seek him out. So that's where the benefit was.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the great thing about like anyway, cheesing a lot of spots with Galley back in
Yeah.
D1.
This is a really well crafted. Like that was Galahorn's whole thing. If there's beauty and destruction, why not also its delivery? This is a very well crafted. I'm just really like noticing it now. Rocket launcher where it's got like wood handle and wood trigger and everything. It just looks like very
Very
ornate.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the gun in D1 you couldn't get unless you
Yep.
were just a diehard grinder because Xur sold it and nobody wanted to buy a heavy and
Yep.
use their strange coins on that. But then you were like, oh crap, I should have done that because it ended up being the end all be all
Mm-hmm.
weapon of the entire game.
Must have Galahorn.
Yeah. I mean, if you could go back and do it all again, wouldn't you?
It's crazy because this is like that gun. They talk about those destiny moments. This is one of those things that created a destiny moment where people remember when they got their Galahorn for the first time. And
Yeah,
that's a
absolutely.
unique experience that I don't think a lot of games can actually pull off.
Some people never got it for
And that's
years.
upsetting. That's the other shoe, right? It's like that sucks. It sucks that there are people that just never got it no matter what they did. And there were so
No
many
matter
ways to
what.
get to farm and stuff, It's like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
So the gun is made out of a bunch of dead guys and gals who died on the Twilight Gap battle, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful for that reason.
And so only the survivors were supposed to actually have a Galahorn. The people
Yeah,
who fought and survived were supposed to be given the Galahorns as a sign of respect. Um Apparently,
But then they went,
Drifter's grandma has one, so that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Then they went Oprah on everything and just let everybody have one.
Well, that's when
And they
we
even came
made
up with a black version of
the
one.
Iron Galahorn, which was
Yeah.
like Lord Saladin just completely like stealing the Galahorn and making it the Iron Lord's Galahorn. It's like, okay, fucking old man.
He couldn't even remember we were his wolf.
That's the type of shit where it's like, I saw it on the internet. That means it's free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Asshole.
Yeah.
And so our last one is this whole Bungie, another thing coming in the anniversary. Just these two, the Hunter and Titan. I'm actually really jealous about the Titan. I love this Titan look so much, and it's a
I
little
know. It's so
upsetting.
cool.
There are parts of the Hunter that I really like as well, but I really like the Titan. I think the Titan is probably one of the coolest. What the fuck is the Warlock though? Is that a thing?
What do you mean? No. So, like, the Warlock, somebody was trying to point this to Halo also, but it's not. It's so, like, the people were like, "Oh, well, that Warlock, it looks a lot like an elite," and I was like, "No, it does not." But I mean, it guess it's one of those "what do you think it means" kind of things, and until somebody explicitly says what it is, it's not going to be what it is. Like, even people were saying, "Well, the Bond is the Halo ring world," like
Yeah.
a micro Halo ring world, which I could see that too. But like, if you look at the Hunter and you see what they're doing, they're just kind of calling to like the whole community as a whole, and
Yeah.
Bungie. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like the Hunter and the Titan makes so much sense because the Hunter and the Titan, like these are two things that like if Bungie had a con, people would wear. But
Yeah.
what the fuck is the Warlock
So
supposed to
here's
be?
so here's where a lot of people settled on the Warlock is like either it's something they just haven't said explicitly yet, or it's something that's coming,
Okay.
which could be
Oh, that's a good
yeah,
point because they have that
yeah,
new game coming out with the
yep,
codename Matter.
yep.
Okay.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
Because what I
I would
really
love
like
that.
what I really like about the Titan though, it's just it's got so much going for it where, it's got the Bungie fist holding lightning on its helmet. It's got two ghost pins. It's got I think that's an Iron Banner pin. It's got
Well,
what looks like the last word.
I got a little picture in our Discord chat if you want to look at it, where I put arrows to everything that was Halo, and it points it out. But like, um, so the Master Chief visor is the helmet with the mask and the sunglasses or the goggles.
Okay.
That, that's the Master Chief's helmet. If you look on the hip of that Hunter, I mean that Titan, her hip. If you look at that, that's Master Chief's shoulder. And the picture I chose of Master Chief isn't the exact shoulder plate. It's actually more of the Infinite one that just came out. That shoulder plate is the exact same shape as that little piece of armor that she's wearing on her hip, almost as if Master Chief is much smaller than a Titan.
Yeah.
Um, then the camo pants are used by the ODSTs, Destiny,
Okay.
Bungie, ODST reference there. And then the needler, obviously, that's the big
Yeah.
one everybody's automatically seen is the needles in the other shoulder pad
Hmm.
that she's got on. And then the many, many buttons on her jean
Yeah.
jacket. Yes.
Because so on the collar, I have it super zoomed in, and it's actually like very easy to see. They have the tricorn, they have the Bungie Foundation hearts. This is Sundance. This is Iron Banner. This is the Bungie logo. Vanguard. Pretty sure that's the last word. Then they have Forsaken. The regular ghost. They have this Titan emblem, and then they have the Nines emblem over here. I don't know what this green one is though.
The green one. Oh yeah. What is that? I thought that was the drifter one at first glance.
No, that's maybe it is. But now, because I zoomed in, I noticed the mark is actually that what the hell is this? I can't think of the name, but I know the damn symbol. It's
That's the
recent.
anniversary mark that I just got the pin in the mail
Yeah.
Thursday. Yeah.
So it's actually got it on the mark as well. Whereas the Bungie Hunter here, it's just basically their fist holding lightning and then just complete streetwear with
That was
really
the other
weird
thing.
pants.
That
What
was
are
the other
these
thing
pant
too.
legs?
Yeah, I don't know what's good. They're
But
like zipper leg
they have a
pants,
knee pad
like the
on your
ones you can make
shin.
into shorts. The back to the Titan, her
Okay.
pants and the ODST knee pads. Those are exactly the same as an ODST Marines knee pad slash ODSTs. But what's funny is, so here's a little thing that Bungie nods to in their games is how a lot of the artists use the assets in games to create new armor pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, things have popped up as other pieces of armor, like knee pads have become shoulders, shoulders have become knee pads, uh, like foot braces have become like forearm braces,
Mm-hmm.
just because the artists are like, oh, I need that and I'll use it here, or I need that. So like one of the things that happened in Halo Reach was one of the armor choices you could get in game, the whole entire like kneecap was supposed to have been in a shoulder, but they screwed up and they made
Okay.
it a kneecap instead of a shoulder, and so like it's always been there. So it's just a funny thing. And so I thought it was hilarious that they would just explicitly put Master Chief's shoulder plate on her hip.
Yeah.
But anyway,
All right.
yeah.
Well, so I'm really glad that you mentioned that thing about the Warlock because I haven't actually heard I actually haven't heard that
Mhm.
said. Uh
TBD, I'm
yeah,
sure.
Matt Grundy says the Warlock face kind of looks like the Halo Reach guy who survived the sniper dude. Would you know anything more about that?
Yeah, that's June. I don't think so.
And they said I was thinking Emil.
Yeah, Emil is he died. He was the guy who carved his faceplate with a skull. He's the iconic one that everybody remembers from Halo Reach. He
Hmm.
had this big gherkin knife that he carved the skull that's on the face of his visor.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited. I'm really hoping that whatever Bungie's next IP is coming out of their studio, because we know they're making one that's not in the Destiny IP. They're making a new IP, and I would
Matter.
love to see like that's the villain, like that exact model
That
is
would be
the
so
villain, and
cool.
it's just Warlocks get to be it. Even if I'm not a Warlock, like that's so cool to see. So then that's gonna be it for this episode. If you came in late, we always post it. If you want to find out more of us, it's at Loose Cannon Show on Twitter. We only really tweet about the show going live or any updates and stuff like that. So you can follow us, you can put us on notifications, and you'll just get like 2 tweets, 4 tweets a month, basically. So unless something important is happening, something's changing. And that's gonna uh, be it for us this week. We will be back on November 21st. This is the kind of slow month, and there's a lot to talk about before Witch Queen comes out. Um, One thing that I think we might want to do for the 21st is talk the Dark Future lore book because
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm hoping that they're going to release more trailers because if they release more trailers like they did yesterday with Ikora, or was that 2 days ago with Ikora?
Yeah, little
2 days
teaser.
ago with Ikora. If they release more trailers like that between now and then, we'll be able to talk about those as well. Because the Dark Future lore book kind of predicts this future that we think we've already stopped, but there's always that potential that some aspects of that future still happen. Things like Eris actually controlling Savathun, Anna Bray going full dark side, things like that that we have to worry about. And, like Zavala cracking under the pressure, like all these aspects that who knows what's going to happen, and it could begin to happen in Witch Queen.
Yeah.
So yeah, join us then. Bye everybody.
Bye.